KK Reaper.
And I'm Lunar Reaper.
And this is A Frightful Eve. This evening, we will need to be kind and rewind. Tonight's review will take us back to 2004's Dead and Breakfast, about a group of friends headed to a wedding when they make a stop in a quiet town. They become trapped at the inn, however, when their friend and the townsfolk become possessed and zombified.
But first, the horror news.
The Japanese zombie comedy One Cut of the Dead is getting a French remake from Oscar Award winner Michel Hazanavicius, called Final Cut. A director is put in charge of making a live, single-take, low-budget zombie flick, in which the cast and crew, one by one, actually turn into zombies. Yoshiko Takahara will even reprise her role as the giddy producer Sasahara. You'll be able to join the undead in theaters July 14th, and check out the original Zomcom on Shudder now.
The Garden of Eden is a story of a Christian family that has been blessed with a successful family business, leaving them comfortably wealthy without any financial worry in sight. In order to follow their faith, it makes sense that the godly thing to do would be to give back to those in need. While throwing a garden party, any guest that finds a hidden key will have a wish granted. This is a classic storyline of be careful what you wish for. With a statement from movie writer Joe Netter, there were moments where we questioned whether we were going too far. There's no doubt that this film will stir some controversy, but who doesn't love a good horror controversy film? Release date to be determined.
Bloody Disgusting brings together horror legends Robert Englund, Bill Moseley, and Daniel Harris for a new slasher feature to be excited for. From director of Halloween 4, Dwight Little, Natty Knox is about a small-town babysitter and the kids she's looking after struggling to survive a serial killer named Abner Honeywell. The trailer is out now, and the official release date will be announced on July 21st.
Alex Oaxaca is a comic book writer who remained in obscurity for decades until a bloodthirsty axe murderer lets loose at an annual convention cosplaying as one of his characters from the comic Red Murder, and thrusts him back into the spotlight. This gory comic, written by R.L. Stine and illustrated by Adam Gotham, will be a fantastic addition to Stine's successful adult comic series, The Stuff of Nightmares. The 5th installment of the series is set to hit shelves September 27th.
Fangoria has gifted us an unsettling first look at the straight-to-digital release The Breach via Trinity Creative. Counting down his last days as chief of police in the tiny town of Lone Crow, John Hawkins must investigate one last case when a mangled body with uncanny wounds washes up on the shores of the Porcupine River. Featuring music from legendary Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash, and a guest appearance from Rush's Alex Lifeson, you'll be able to learn where, in fact, the bones went on July 11th.
Sharksploitation is a Shudder original to add to your summer watch list while you stay out of the water. This documentary will be covering all notable moments sharks have entered the horror scene, and how it has affected its viewers for better or for worse. While the celebrated film Jaws must be at the front and center of the original shark horror films, there are too many deep-sea films that have left us making sure we don't go too deep. Available in the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand on July 21st.
For more information on these events, check out the links in the description below.
And now for the review of Dead and Breakfast.
We're coming to kill you. We're coming to kill you.
I can't.
We're coming to kill you. We're coming to kill you. This movie
What a score. Brought a tear to my eye.
brought a tear to my eye.
I got this movie recommended 2 years ago, and I'm disappointed and ashamed that I waited till now.
Well, I'm kind of glad that you did, because at least we had the opportunity to watch it together.
Oh my gosh.
This was for certain a wild roller coaster ride that you were just on there for the ride. Not a lot of plot depth.
We don't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need it.
No, I mean,
We have a French chef, a guy that plays the guitar and owns a gas station. Huge.
owned a gas station.
That was his gas station. He was a gas station tenant.
Oh, I didn't fully realize that.
Well,
I didn't know it was all connected.
This film is deeper than you.
Yeah, he owns the.
Yeah, he's a complex
He owns the
guy.
inn and the gas station. We got layers.
I know.
That's I have to preface this with saying that obviously, we appreciate the lowbrow horror
live
and
for it.
horror comedy. That being said, we try to rate the films that we watch on a scale of professionalism to some extent, within the horror genre. Like, what would a general audience think? And often, I mean, a decent amount of times we've come out of most of these movies, and with the rating that we give, we then look at like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that, and we kind of come pretty close to the same general consensus on some things.
Mostly, especially because I don't think we've ever truly agreed on a rating off the bat. We usually have our extremes meet in the middle, and then we see it on the other reviews, and we're like, yeah, that sounds about right.
And that's why, I think that's what makes it good that we have us to bounce each other, balance that a little bit, because otherwise it gets a little too crazy. I feel like there are certain movies that either you or I would have rated much higher than what was actually deserved.
And then the other one has to be like, hold on.
Right, exactly. But yeah, so as enthusiasts of the B-rate horror, of course we love this.
Yes.
But definitely on just a general outlook, it's a little all over the place.
It's a little niche.
It's a little niche.
A little homemade.
Definitely homemade. I mean, it's so weird too, because this movie, 500,000 in the grand scheme of things for filmmaking isn't like a huge budget, but it's up there. Mm-hmm. And especially in 2004, adjust for inflation, it's still a decent sized budget for this type of film. It feels like it comes out of that era of you're right at the tail end of these movies that were still the production companies, all the producers were on speed or whatever they were on when they were in the writing room, and they were like, yes, green light all of this.
Right.
there was not the same level of boundaries as some of the modern companies do now. This one definitely, I don't even know where to really begin.
Let's start at the beginning.
Let's start at the beginning. So I would like to start with the fact that it is a product of its time, I feel like.
Sure.
And so it being a product of its time, you get a lot of campiness, like that grunge rock that occasionally plays in those certain scenes when they're on the run from the zombies.
Oh,
things
yeah.
like that. Definitely straight out of very Drowning Pool-esque kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
That to me has that's one of those definitely quintessential 2000s tropes. It reminds me a little bit of Final Destination, Freddy vs. Jason, which was all kind of that early 2000s horror genre. But anyway, moving on to the more important parts. The best part of this film, I would say, is probably, besides the bizarre, campy, funny things that are happening, the effects are really good.
I think so. I think some of the prosthetics are really great. I mean, that severed head for this
What was his
budget. Who got killed? Spoilers.
Who got... Yeah, right.
I think it was the main guy in the group. Oh my gosh.
Randall? That looks like him.
Oh, Zachariah? No, wait, he's the musician.
Oh, is he? Look at that. Maybe he's not on this list.
Whatever. When the head honcho, when the level-headed jock trope got his noggin sliced off and he lifted up the head, like I was picturing something more ridiculous, but when he pulled it up, I was like, oh, well, all right.
Yeah, pretty decent.
I think I should start at the beginning of the plot saying that this isn't even quite zombies. It's a cursed box that
turns them
that
into,
Johnny opens up.
Yeah.
And you have to kill somebody, take something from them, which was hair.
Well, you don't even have to kill them, because he, like, when he goes up to one of the, I think it was the deputy in the bar,
he rips something,
he just rips the hair off and puts it in the box, and it automatically turns him.
So if anything personal of your body comes into the box, you are a zombie with amazing musical theater talent.
Right. Suddenly the choreographing is just innate in you, and you can pull off a discount version of the Thriller dance in the middle of the film.
Can we please roll a clip of, like...
We're coming to kill you. We're coming to kill you. Yeah, that is like the greatest part. Honestly, I think that for me, like I wouldn't rate the movie a 10 out of 10.
Right.
But that scene alone is 10 out of 10.
Well, you know my favorite scene.
Which one's that?
And it's just so ridiculous and so dumb, and I was almost shocked at how funny I found it. But when David, I think the actor that played David was so good at playing an idiot without making it painful. Like, he was really good. And when our first...
Oh, is he the pain pills guy? Always drinking, always... Yeah, yep.
Yes, and he's eating a pie in the dark, didn't even turn the lights on until the group turns the lights on and sees our French chef, Henry, sliced, diced, served on rice, and he just does the longest, like, run in a puddle of blood, stand still sort of stupidness that I love.
It was very, like, Bugs Bunny cartoon. Like, you know, there's certain elements of that was, like, very deliberate.
And it wasn't overacted.
No,
Which I feel like that stuff's the hardest thing to do. To be an idiot and not try too hard.
Well, that's why I think that, you know, whether or not it was, I have to assume it's their intention, because if it wasn't, I'm so sorry. But, you know, the aspect of that being as cartoonish as it was like a well-achieved effect. It wasn't so over the top. They didn't poke so much fun at it that it became not funny.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting to. You know, it felt like all the comedic timing of that was perfect. That really again was what sold me on this film more than anything else. The comedic timing of everything was so perfect.
So good. And just being surprised at certain actors that are well known enough that you're like, huh. Like Johnny, Oz Perkins, for those who've seen Legally Blonde, it's just so weird.
Oh, is he in Legally Blonde?
He is.
Okay.
But it's just, and
I did try to do a little bit of research on them. I think I saw that as one of his listings.
Mr. Wise from Kill Bill.
Oh my God, really?
Yes.
Wow.
I know.
So this must have been, I mean, that had to have been some of their starting points for that. Before they really took off. I know. I mean, for what's his name?
Dietrich Bader. Like, he's pretty there, wasn't he? Was he in The Blackening? Did he play the sheriff in The Blackening?
Wow, I don't know.
I think he did.
He looks like he could have.
I think he did.
But Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I mean, to me, is like the most notable name in this, at least from what I've gathered, what I am, you know, knowledgeable of.
I think he's definitely got the most recent work.
I guess, yeah, because Walking Dead was as extensive as it was.
Yeah, how many seasons are they on now?
Oh, geez, too many to count.
Oh my God.
Well, the Walking Dead has finally ended. It's the other branch-off stories that they've continued.
Got it.
But yeah, obviously, his role as Negan is long-lasting and most recent, like you said. That to me is the first one when it was mentioned when we were watching it. I was like, oh, like now I see it, But yeah, as you said, I mean, that's the amazing thing about low-budget horror is a lot of people get their breaks in that before they become.
But this is definitely not his break. He was...
Oh no, I know. I'm just saying that's something that's a little bit more. Like you wouldn't associate that with him. Like you don't think these people's names and think, oh, Dead and Breakfast.
Right. There's a certain part in my heart that I want to believe so bad that some of them get bored, they get overworked, they get too big in the limelight, and someone hands them a script as beautiful
and bizarre,
Dead and Breakfast, and they go, you know what, I've got some time.
Right. I could see that. I mean, definitely. There's a good amount of that, I'm sure. And I mean, that also speaks to the budget as well, because I mean the amount of money that had to have gone into the blood and gore and everything else in this movie. I have to imagine that these actors did not get paid like a crazy paycheck for this. So, I think that's also what makes these movies a little bit more magical too, is because it feels like they go off the rails because these artists pretty much have free reign. They're not doing it as a paycheck. It's not a big time production. You can go in with $500,000 and make that back on a cult following for this movie and just live on, be happy with that. Because you had fun doing it. It's not, I
don't know if I'm ignorant just because we just found this movie before, but I'm surprised this does not have a bigger cult following, unless I'm just unaware.
Right. Do you like this movie? Would you like to talk about it with us? No, I mean, I'm sure that there's a decent amount of people that would probably, they probably coming across this review right now and being like, oh, you saw this movie too, because it's too good not to be recognized, at least by the cult following horror people, you know.
Shout out to Allie, thanks for recommending this.
But that brings us to, let's see, there's so many things to unpack, but the musical accompaniment.
Right.
We joked about it being the longest run. You said that it was a musical.
That's my opinion.
That's my opinion. If anyone says this is a musical, I feel like that's loosely held. It is the world's longest running music video. In spurts, you have your narrator on the guitar singing about the premise of each act, which again is, it's just so crazy. But yeah, so besides the music that is inserted, that grunge rock of the 2000s, that one song in particular is actually very catchy.
I like it.
But it's also again just another quintessential thing of that era where it's like that rap rock mix, like the hybrid.
What did I say before? It was like Eminem featuring Matchbox.
Right.
Very much.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's good stuff. And the guitarist actually having his full redneck band and stuff during the bar scenes and all that, playing throughout the entire film. It's very enjoyable to have him narrate this entire thing.
Our little Jiminy Cricket.
All right. Yeah, it's definitely not as painful as I thought it was gonna be.
No.
That plot of the zombie thing I don't know. Truthfully, I'm not sure if I missed something or if it was just like, stereotypical young adults going to a wedding. They break down. Mm-hmm. They go into the inn, right. Creepy inn taker, innkeeper, whatever.
Yeah. With weird artifact.
Right. Oh, was he the one who had that?
Yes.
In the first place? Okay. Yep. All right.
Oh, did I close that link for you?
A little bit. No? I mean, at least there was something, Yeah, I mean, with the Drifter and some semblance of these other players in the, obviously, when you get to the point of sheriff and team fighting zombies, mm-hmm. It is what it is.
Yeah.
The Drifter, the one thing that drove me nuts was not lighting the cigarette and never knowing why he didn't light the cigarette. It's like...
Well, he's clearly a fan of Fault in Our Stars, which definitely came before this.
I was going to say, wait a second.
Yeah, I think that was just trying to be a mysterious guy and that's that. So they're going to be like, we're going to make him do this weird thing that makes no sense.
Right. That element of it is that feels like very Rocky Horror-esque. It's like one of those things in the film that just doesn't make sense and it's just there.
Sure.
There's elements of that in Rocky. That's what the audience pokes fun at,
Very nice.
Yeah, towards that point where people start getting possessed and you have the box and you're taking bits of people to possess them and turn them into a zombie horde.
Yes.
I'm like, where is this? How did we get here? And then also, why did we need the bones of the innkeeper versus just chopping their heads off? That was the whole...
chopping their heads off solves the moment, where getting the bones of the innkeeper solves the curse.
I guess, but the whole thing was that Johnny, Oz Perkins, was the head of the zombies.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
So if you decapitated him,
yeah,
wouldn't that just kill all wouldn't that kill off the curse?
What stops someone from just getting the box again?
Well, as we realized, they decided to just burn the box at the end and not wait until it burnt anyway. So somebody's getting that box regardless.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
There is no good answer for that. That was the best thing. I was like, you built a fire pit. Mm-hmm. You put all the wood upwards. Mm-hmm. You put the box in the bottom center of that fire.
Yep.
And you didn't wait to see if it, where else are you going now? Your whole friend group just died. You're with this Drifter now.
And they're madly in love.
I don't know about that one.
I think so. The chemistry is undeniable.
That one seems like a stretch.
I know it when I see it.
Yeah, that just leave. I mean, open for a sequel. I guess that never happened. Yeah, where do you have to go in such a hurry now? I guess to the wedding.
Yeah.
We gotta
go
make
beat
it to
up
the
that
wedding.
bride.
Yeah,
who's
right.
So mean to her friend.
Oh man.
Classic.
Yeah, and you just let the fire burn, and the box survives, and we get more possessions, and the whole cycle starts over again.
The band's getting back together.
The band's getting back together, right? So yeah, I mean, aside from that, I guess really just the, you look at it from the standpoint of, came out in 2004, kind of fits in the same genre as Final Destination, kind of the satirical horror over the top with certain themes. What else did I say? Freddy vs. Jason, kind of in in the vein of those, just over the top gore. I know we kind of talked about this before, but some of that feels like it heads in the direction almost of Evil Dead, with humans turning into zombies by means of supernatural rather than infection.
Yeah.
And also just the over-the-top kills to some extent, obviously not nearly as gory as Evil Dead, but lending itself to that a little bit.
Getting there.
One of the factors that kind of kills it, because again, in that early 2000s era, I feel like this movie probably could have thrived in a movie theater setting better than it did. It just seems as though one of the major production factors was the audio and the video quality of the film. It feels like for $500,000, they probably could have had a little bit more to it, you know?
I guess so.
They focused a lot of the quality on the song making, which was great. But then you get to certain parts where they're like talking to each other, whispering to each other. I can't even make out what they're...
I know, and at first I thought it was just our terrible hearing loss, but it turns out it was just the movie.
Right. And that's, I mean, like, if it had just ramped up that aspect a little bit, I definitely think it could have been right there in the catalog of those, like, early 2000s over-the-top, you know, type of horror comedies or horror, like, you know, horror poking a little bit of fun at itself. You know, I think even though Final Destination and like things like I Know What You Did Last Summer and stuff like that, like they're a little bit more serious, but they're still poking fun at themselves. Like the Scream, you know, like all that stuff that was like sort of right in the middle or like right before this movie came out. It fits right there. It's just not quite up to the quality standards.
Got it.
I think that's only because it's not a, you know, it wasn't a major production like Scream being made by Wes Craven and things of that nature. But that's what, I mean, ultimately, if you're an indie lover, if you love, you know, outrageous horror that's made on a smaller budget by people who really love the craft, then this movie's for you. I mean, it's definitely, it's a trip.
It lends for a bumpin' Saturday night.
Yes, definitely. It's a good like I think Rocky Horror is a good example of just it's the same atmosphere as Rocky Horror. Not that it's as good, but you know, it's one of those, if you watch it as a group, you're gonna get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
And you'll get a kick out of it like pretty much the whole way through. It really doesn't stop.
Okay.
Once it starts getting the ball rolling, it's pretty funny to watch from beginning to end.
KK and Luna Reaper.
What, Bartholomew?
What is the final verdict?
Dead and Breakfast is a great product of its time. It really brings on the 2000s nostalgia, fitting itself into outlandish horror comedy that was popularized following films like Scream and Final Destination.
If the film's production quality had been more up to par with the era, it may have found its way out of obscurity. Although the lower budget aesthetic coupled with the off-the-rails plot is a fun time for those with that acquired taste. And for that, we give this film a 6 out of 10.
That's our show. Thanks for tuning in.
And until next time, Ghosts and Ghouls, have a frightful eve.
We're coming to kill you, coming to kill you.
I like hemoglobin in my mouth, your frontal lobe until I spit it out, yo. We be gloating, humans taste like trout, and some after dinner smoke, so what I'm all about. So take your eyes out with tedious care. My mischievous stare and devious glare will take your greasiest pair of knees, snitched and hair, and you know I'll eat them raw. Off me, rare. Blood is